So, I'd like to call to order the Bloomington Historic Preservation Commission meeting for Thursday, November 12th. So Dee, would you do the roll call?
Okay, Doug Bruce, Sam DeSaller, Susan Dyer,
Here.
Jeff Golden, Deb Hutton,
Here.
Lee Sandweiss,
Here.
John Saunders,
Here.
Chris Sturbaum,
Here.
Duncan Campbell,
Here.
Ernesto Castaneda, Derek Ritchie, Jenny Southern.
All right. We need approval for the minutes from our last meeting. So can I get a motion?
I have an edit to comment on.
Okay.
In the minutes on, well, I don't know what page it is. It's item V for victory, new business, local designation of 424 and a half South Walnut. It just says John Golden, and it's Jeff Golden. Dee was just mixing up John, and Jeff, so it's just Jeff Golden there.
Well, we do need to correct that.
Oh yeah, just a typo.
Exactly. All right, great. Thank you, Dee.
Otherwise, I'd be happy to approve the minutes.
With the amendment.
Second.
With the amendment. Thank you. Okay, Dee, you want to do roll call?
That's Susan Dyer.
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes?
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0-0.
All right, Connor, let's move on to our first item on the agenda, which is COA 20-46, 605 South Best Avenue.
So this is a contributing structure. It's a Spanish colonial style apartment building built circa 1920. Just quick case review of this to refresh everybody. In March of 2018, Demolition Delay came to the Historic Preservation Commission. It was a request to change the roof to a gable roof, pretty steeply pitched gable roof. The HPC decided to recommend designation to the Common Council in May. And then later that month in May, the Common Council designated this building as a single property historic district and named it the Willow Terrace apartment building. So it became a local historic district, which is why we're seeing a certificate of appropriateness this time and not a demolition delay review. So this is a retroactive request. The work has already been completed. The request is to replace failing EPDM roofing membrane and insulation with Duralast roofing system, and then to replace failing original mission clay or terracotta roof tiles on the parapet and entry porch on the north elevation with metal coping. In the packet, I hope you guys had a chance to read a preservation brief on historic clay tiles. This is where I'm getting some of this information from. These are called pan tile or barrel-shaped mission clay tiles. They are distinguishable and notable architectural feature of the Spanish Revival style. The original tiles were manufactured. I was able to look at one by the Ludwicki Celadon Company. Originally, they had a plant in Chicago, but that plant burned down in 1910. These were manufactured at that Chicago plant. Ludwicki is still manufacturing these tiles, but now I believe they're in Ohio. These tiles really should be maintained or replaced in kind when they become deteriorated or broken. So staff would recommend a partial approval here. Staff would approve to replace the EPDM roofing membrane, which is on the flatter portion of the roof behind the parapet. However, staff would recommend denial, replacing the pan tiles, mission style tiles on the parapet. So there you have it.
Okay, great. And do we have the petitioner with us?
This is Greg Lauer, Petitioner's Counsel. Petitioner Tom Weiniger is not available because of a scheduling conflict and is not going to be present this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you for attending. All right, so let's move to questions. Chris?
Did I understand this has already been done?
Yep, so I wanted to show you, this is what it looked like in 2018 when it was designated. You can see the parapet still has the tiles here, here, and here. This is the north elevation. This is it now. So you can see that that work's been done.
And wasn't your report that this was a defining feature of the structure?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Deb, questions?
Yes, in the picture I'm looking at right now, 2020, is that a pile of removed but still viable clay tiles right there on the property?
I don't know how viable. I didn't, pick through them or anything. It's not really my right to do that. But just
Sure.
walking by and looking at it, yeah, those look like they were removed when they put the metal roofing on there. And I did take a picture of one to confirm it was a Ludwig tile.
Right, I saw that. And my second question is, while I can see the metal coping up at the top of the walls, was this north entrance door covering, is it still remaining tile? Right there.
Yeah, I believe so.
It might have to be replaced, but it's still tile right now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Susan?
So really what we're looking at is the issue with the parapet, right? That's the only part that they replaced.
Right.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Sam?
I'm sorry to be late. I'm just wondering if on the presentation I missed the process of talking through how this building got designated in the first place.
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions.
Okay. Duncan?
No questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions at this point. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Lauer?
I would simply add that Weiniger and his staff looked for comparable replacements and could not find them in a timely manner as far as getting them shipped over and finding something that he thought was going to match the clay tiles that were left. They had major issues with the failing tile up top, which was causing the front units that you see on this building to leak. There were mold issues, there were tenants complaining, and I think it got to the point that they made so many repairs and he was getting so many complaints that his roofer had some availability, and they did their best to what they thought was to match what, you could see the color and what they thought would be appropriate for this structure. What they had originally wanted to do, as you guys had talked about, was to put a slope roof on here to add some insulation, to be able to better heat this building, make it more efficient, and to upgrade some electrical through their attic system. When they couldn't do that, I think it sat a year or two, and they chased repairs, chased leaks, and this was what they did. In my packet of information, you could see it wasn't a situation where they tried to go cheaper. This was not an inexpensive repair. I've also submitted some pictures of some other structures that you can see from either corner of Fess Avenue that have metal roofs and or other types of roofs that looks like there may have been existing clay roofs here. So I would simply say that this is not a situation where Weiniger went out and knowingly tried to ignore guidelines, rules, past rulings. This was an honest attempt to try to match as best they could, as quickly as they could, the previous existing structure.
That does bring up a question, if I could.
Yes, Chris.
Having the time and the knowledge that this was locally designated, why did they fix it first and then appeal to us afterwards?
Is that a question for me?
Yes, it is. Why did they fix it without asking when they knew they were locally designated and they knew there was an issue about the roof, that it puts us in a very difficult spot when the work's already done. It was clearly not a matter of lack of knowledge that this was needed to have an approval. It was clearly, let's just do it and then ask later, it seems to me.
The timing on this was coincided with the IU problems with the mold. And when he started getting complaints and threats on litigation from the tenants and the calls, it was a situation where he wanted to move quickly to eradicate these issues with mold. So the IU situation with the dorms and all of that information that was such a hot button at the time, that is why he went ahead and did it. And you're right. He did know that there was a designation, and that's why he's tried to match the coloration on that parapet.
Do we have any more questions?
I have one. Did he reach out to the HPC or to Hand to ask if anybody on staff or on the commission would have any knowledge of a way of any source to replace the tiles?
I don't know the definitive answer to that because I wasn't involved at the time, but if I had to guess, I would say no. I do know that in speaking with him earlier today, that they did check salvage yards. They did check on these remaining tiles to see how many could have been reused that came off of different areas. And what Tom has told me is that there was just not enough that were structurally intact to go back and do this. And it's, being a landlord myself, I know how frustrating it is to have tenants call me after hours complaining about rain that moves in the evening. And he was trying to solve a problem.
There's not. And when was our permit?
I don't know. I have that information.
All right, just let me ask. Okay. Let's move on to comments at this point. Chris?
Well, we meet every 2 weeks.
Not this time of year.
And we also listen to reason about issues like this. The principle of simply not asking and then doing is what bothers me the most. And I'm not sure that we should just think that's okay and just let everybody know that if they just do it without asking, we'll be okay with it. I have trouble with that, and I think it's a bad precedent.
All right, thank you, Chris. Deb, question or comments?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on Chris's, that back in 2018, when this house, this apartment building was up for a COA, the issue of the clay tiles in the roof were talked about, in my memory at least, and that should be checked. But in my memory, we talked about the clay tile roof and replacement by anything other than clay tiles was not acceptable because of its local designation. So to me, the topic had already been discussed out loud in 2018. And so it was not an unknown issue. So besides ignoring us in the present tense, I think that information was already out there, that the expectation would be replacement with other clay tiles because of its historic look, and designation. So that's my comment.
Thanks, Deb. Lee?
I understand. I've been a renter. I've never been a landlord, but I understand the need to keep water from running down the wall and all that. But I was shocked when I drove past this locally historic designated building and saw that metal roof. I'm like, this was designated. How did that happen? So I feel bad. I feel that it's regrettable that the owner didn't reach out to the commission, because there's more than enough expertise on the commission to have helped secure the tiles that would have been appropriate for this job.
Thank you, Lee. Sam?
I'm going to take the previous comments a little bit further. I felt that when we put the project up for designation and subsequently it was designated by the Common Council, that we were putting the owner on notice that this is an important building. It's the roof was very strongly referenced as a defining characteristic of that building. I would say that, you know, not being able to put the insulation in this building is not necessarily true. You can put, with a low slope roof under an EPDM, you can use tapered insulation and improve the improve the insulation value and the water tightness of the building while still maintaining the character of the building. They wanted to put a large pitched roof on there, which would have destroyed the character of the building, and that's what we were reacting to it in 2018. I would strongly push for abatement on this one. I think that it's pretty egregious. There was a lot of time that went by between when the building was designated and when this repair happened. And if they were that concerned about it, they should have started the process talking through with us, or, you know, before they were getting complaints from their tenants. That's 2 years where they're going to replace the roof then. So the tenant complaint argument doesn't hold a lot of water with me. So I will support the replacement of the EPDM roof. I cannot support the approval of any replacement of the tile with different jarring material.
Thank you, Sam. Duncan?
I agree with everything that's been said.
Thank you, Duncan. And I'm in agreement also. I believe that the owner was put on notice and knew that this may not have been a good option. That's my comment at this point. So we need to make a motion.
We didn't have public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any, thank you for bringing me comment. Is there any members of the public that would like to make a comment? Okay. All right, I need a motion. Sam?
I move to partially approve. Boy, let me get the COA in front of me. Sorry, ma'am. Here we go. Partially approved COA 20-46 at 605 South Fess Avenue, that the owner may replace the EPDM roof, but deny the replacement of any of the terracotta tiles.
I'll second. Dee,
We have to say in that we deny not any replacement, but replacement by anything other than equal and equivalent clay terracotta roof tiles?
No, I think it's
I can amend it if you want clarification.
I think it's just better to deny the replacement, and then, you know, he would need a COA for what he's going to replace it with in the future, or how that'll come about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dee, can you do a roll for us?
Okay. Sam DeSauler,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-0.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to COA 20-47, 338 South Jackson Street.
So this is a contributing building in the Greater Prospect Hill Historic District. The request is to remove the kind of concrete block railing, well, not really railing, call it what you want, knee wall, whatever, on the front porch. And there's some decorative iron posts on here as well. You can see them better in this picture.
Oh, yeah.
So to remove all that and replace it with some rounded wood columns and a wood railing as well, about the same height. So that's the request. The features being removed are not original. They're not compatible with the material, scale, and style of front porch features found throughout that district. The rounded wood columns and wood porch railings are appropriate architectural features for front porches in the district, and are compatible in scale and style with the home. So staff would recommend approval of COA 2047.
Okay. Chris, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think our owner has listened in and might have a comment. I don't know when you would like to do that.
No, we have Sam. Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Chris, I'm sorry.
Oh, is this an appropriate time for the owner to be recognized if they're on the site?
Absolutely.
Anybody there?
Yep, talk away.
Isn't it Susan Rudd?
No.
No.
I don't know if the owner is here.
Okay, they do both work, and this may be a tight time for them to get back. I'll just say that I've sent in pictures of porches up the block within 3 or 4 houses of this porch, and they represent pretty much what we're going to do with this if we can. We're the contractor, and it's actually my next door house next door to me. So we may want to do, since the porch is low, we aren't bound by the height. So we may, both of these traditional railings are low. We may do something in the realm of a 2-foot rail, because that meets code, but it also gives a more historic look.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Deb, do you have questions?
No questions.
Lee, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Susan?
No, I don't have any questions.
Great. Sam?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple. Hey, Chris, can you talk us through the sizes of those columns, like the diameters? They're round ones, they're squared ones, and also the size, and also the size of the members that you're using for the railing, like the picket size and spacing and the top and bottom rail.
Right. The columns are about 10 to 9 tapering, and the spindles will probably be 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches, if not 1 inch by 1 inch, probably 1.25 inches. They're spaced about 4 inches on center, and the height should be 24 to 28 inches high. We're going to actually match railings down the street. Is that enough information?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Duncan?
Yeah, Chris, are there any historic photographs of this building?
I don't have any, and I haven't seen any, and the owner hasn't come up with any. We have the old paint marks where the posts used to be, and they're in the same location where the metal posts got put.
And they were round columns?
I couldn't tell because you would only see the square top of these columns in the ghost mark in the paint.
This is probably really a comment, but I think it's a good idea to look around the neighborhood and see what's adjacent and so on in terms of looking for leads about what was originally configured there. But there's so much variation in all these West Side neighborhoods on porch configurations that it would be nice to know that it'd be nice to be able to find what that house actually looked like. I mean, it's a pretty simple structure. I have a little bit difficulty imagining it with Tuscan columns on it. But
Well, that's why I showed the pictures of a house 4 houses away that has the original ones, and this one has original ones. And then this 3 houses away, they have square posts, but similar.
yeah,
Okay,
that's all.
I don't have any questions for Chris at this time. So let's move on to comments. Deb,
No comment.
Lee,
I don't have a comment.
Susan,
Not me.
Sam?
Yeah, I think it might be worth maybe beefing up your members on the low rail if you're going to put in a low rail. That picture that is up on the screen now in the upper right, a lot of the railings of that era have much chunkier pieces of wood. I know they're more expensive, and doing a 2x is a whole heck of a lot cheaper. But you know, if you get a big 2-inch beefy piece of stuff with a tighter spacing, it's not necessarily, it's above and beyond what code asks for in terms of spacing, but it does, I think, lend some, what's the word? Not credence, but legitimacy to the replacement of a rail with something that talks about the same era.
Great, thank you, Sam. Chris, I tend to agree with Beckett a little bit that maybe take a look at some of the other houses in that area and make sure that if we're going to the columns, that would be appropriate, or like the picture in the upper corner here where they've gone back with, or where they have the square posts, which would also be appropriate for that house.
Yeah, I didn't hear all of that, but I wanted to say that we've rebuilt many railings that were authentic to this time period, including the railing. We repaired the railing on this Tinker's house, and those dimensions are authentic from 1900 or 1890. And I don't know if those fatter ones are authentic on this 320, but I believe the columns on the other house are original, as are the columns on the yellow and gray house. So we've modeled our railings off of traditional designs many times, and it's rare that we find the fatter columns, the fatter spindles.
Right, I was actually suggesting, Chris, that maybe looking to the neighborhood a little bit more in terms of the actual posts themselves, where you're going to use round columns versus the square columns. As an option to consider.
Right.
And that's my only comment.
Okay, who else?
I think we have everybody. Yeah, Duncan did.
I'll be happy to be turned off if there wants to be more discussion without me.
No, you're good, Chris. So what we need is a motion.
I'm gonna go ahead and put Chris the waiting room.
Okay, we need a motion.
Can I try it?
Yes.
So for COA 2048 at 208 East, no, that's wrong.
2047.
How about 338 Jackson?
Read the screen.
Okay, for COA 2047 at 338 South Jackson Street. Then what do I say? We make approval for removing concrete block and iron posts on the front porch and replacing with round wooden columns and traditional porch railing.
Second.
Elise seconded. So D,
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes?
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders.
yes.
Motion carries 500.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris. You're good to go, Chris. All right, so let's move on to COA 20-48, 208 East 15th Street. And Susan, you're with Susan Rudd?
Yep.
Oh, great, thank you.
Okay, so we saw the COA for the primary structure on the lot 208 East 15th at the last meeting where it was approved for some restoration work. This request is for the demolition of the accessory structure. It appears to be original single car garage. It's on the alley there. This is the alley that runs parallel to 15th Street behind the property. So the windows, the size, construction of the garage leads staff to believe it's original. Much of the sill plate's deteriorated. It has CMU blocks for foundations. Those are kind of uneven, with some blocks sinking more than others. Structure also has a slight lean towards the alley, just from the naked eye looking at it. Staff would support demolition of the structure. You can see it better here. This is the primary structure on the lot there. And so this is the single car garage. This is it used to be, I believe, a door that someone tried to side over and paint, so it wouldn't exist anymore. This is some of the picture of the inside. You can see some craziness going on there, and then looking out there from the inside. Well, it does appear to be original to the house. I think it's in pretty poor shape, yeah, staff would recommend approving the demolition of this.
Terrific. Thank you, Connor. Chris, questions?
Let me check to see if he's
Did we
back
bring
in
him
here. I did. I brought him back in, but I don't know if he's accepted that or not.
No questions.
All right, thank you, Chris. Hey, Deb, any questions?
No questions.
All right. Lee,
No questions.
Susan,
No question.
Duncan,
No, thank you.
Sam?
Was there any feedback from the neighborhood?
Yes, the neighborhood supported this COA as well as the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, Chris?
No.
Deb, any comments?
Nope.
Susan,
No.
Lee,
No comment.
Duncan?
Was that me?
Yep.
I I have a question. I'm looking at the slides that you sent us with the house in the background. Do we know the date of this house?
I believe we estimate it to be 1920s. I think I estimated 25 to 35, somewhere in there.
The garage, just for your information, looks like it's more recent than that from the siding detail, unless it's sided over. It's got metal corners and a press board siding, and it's irrelevant to the discussion. I just thought I'd bring it up. It doesn't look to me like it was the same age as the house. It's obviously, I went by there today. It's very deteriorated. I support the petition.
Great. Thank you. I don't have any questions. I've been at this property before and know the condition of that garage. So we would support this as well. We need a motion.
Move to approve COA 20-48.
Second.
Thank you. D,
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 600.
Terrific, thank you. So let's move on to COA 20-49. And this is the petition for the replacement of the new garage.
So this would be for the new construction of a garage in the same location, same size, essentially utilizing the same footprint as the garage you just approved for demolition. It would have wood lap siding to match the house. If you'll remember, the house had vinyl siding or no, aluminum siding on it that was removed, and the lap siding actually is going to be saved and utilized, original lap siding on that house. So I think they're going to match the profile there. It's going to have a wooden garage door with lights. It's going to have custom-made barn doors here, sliding on the north elevation, so the elevation facing the home, and then 2 vinyl windows flanking the barn doors. Staff finds the style of materials it's compatible with the primary structure. It's utilizing the same footprint, so it's subordinate in size to the house, which is expected for accessory structures. So staff would recommend approval of 2049. I will note that this was a very early mock-up of it, so this doesn't represent the final product. These drawings here are going to represent it more. I'm not sure, I couldn't get from the petitioner an exact detail of the barn doors. I don't know if it's going to be plain like this or exhibit some kind of decoration like you see here in this picture. But everything else, you know, looking at the site plan where the 6-foot opening for the barn doors, flanked by vinyl windows, and all that stuff. And here's an example of the garage door they're going to be using to the exact specification. So yes, so staff would recommend approval.
Okay. Susan, Rudd, do you have any additional information?
The only thing I'll say in addition regarding the barn doors, our instructions from our owner were to make the barn doors look like that photo that Connor showed initially, with some detail to it like that. And that's, you know, I think they're negotiable on what that looks like, but it will be custom made. So if you have recommendations, we're open to it. The owner really wants this structure as well as the original house to look very period appropriate. So.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Questions, Chris?
No.
Deb, do you have questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Lee, do you have any questions?
No.
Susan?
No.
Sam?
Just one, I think, are the windows that are flanking the slider door. Are those operable?
I don't believe so. I don't know that for sure. I know they're matching the house. They're using external mullions so that they look like, you know, actual divided lights, but I don't know if they're operable. I don't think so.
Well, yeah, let them know that they should probably not be operable unless they want to move them, because it looks like they'll get whacked.
Right. Yep.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Duncan?
No, no comment.
Okay. I don't have any. I think it's a fine project. We were in comments or questions?
We were in questions.
Questions, okay.
We're in comments.
Just want to make sure. Let's move on to comments because this is going to get mixed up. Chris, you have any additional comments?
No comments. Good work.
Good. Deb?
No comments.
Lee?
No comment.
Great. Susan?
No.
Duncan?
Nope.
Me, no. So we need a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve COA 2049 at 208 East 15th Street.
Great.
Second.
Dee?
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yeah.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-0.
I got a quick question for Connor, or for the petitioner as well. Is that within the existing legal setback? Or are you going to need a variance for that?
They haven't submitted any building permits to planning yet. They wanted to get the approval for the design first, so I don't think they know that yet.
All right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if they're going to do it in the same place with the same footprint, then I would say that this commission would support a variance.
Great.
They could call it rebuilding too.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Susan, for being here this evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's move on to demolition delay. 2020, 2025, 1205 North Madison Street.
So this is a full demolition of a contributing structure you see here. You know, dating this house, I wasn't 100% sure. The elevate data seemed pretty late. I don't know, looking at this, is it a vernacular structure or is it some kind of structure you'd see, you know, built a little later? I'm sure Duncan can answer that for us, but either way, I took a cursory glance at it. I didn't do any kind of in-depth investigation into its history. So just looking at the home where it is, I didn't think it met the historic or architectural criteria for individual designation as it stands. You know, however, we do have 90 days on this, and if you want me to look into that further, I could try to dig up some more information. But as it stands, staff recommend release of demo delay 2025.
Okay, thank you, Connor. So let's do our questions. Chris?
Yeah, could we see the context, please?
Yeah, the street.
Right.
Let me share a new screen with you. Rome, New York is not where we live. Yeah, looking at the context, I figured it was later, like maybe even 40s or something like that. But is that good enough for you, Chris?
Yeah, and then question would be, what is the goal for this property?
Kaylin, I believe, can you answer that question?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
We're still working on, we've got some preliminary plans at this point, but our plan is to build back a single family home. It is a place, that location, my wife and I have considered occupying it as our residence. It is a rental property now. We've owned it for about 4 years as a rental. So we may continue to keep it as a rental for a few more years, but we're not necessarily looking at it as only a demo to build back another rental property.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Deb, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Lee?
No questions.
All right, Susan?
No questions.
Sam?
No questions.
Duncan?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. So my question would be, if you get your demo delay, how long would it be before you would tear the structure down?
At this point, we have a tenant in there. I believe their lease ends at the end of the year. So we're looking at probably end of winter, early spring before we would start anything.
Okay.
One more question.
Yes, Chris?
Yeah, does petitioner own adjacent property?
No, the property to the south, the one that's maybe a little more similar in size and scale, is a rental property as well. And then I believe the one to the north is owner occupied, and the last one to the north is currently on the market right now. I think it's vacant and in kind of average to fair condition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, let's move to comments. Chris?
I might suggest petitioner would consider how much structure is worth reusing and adding to and building from. But that's not here nor, that's really here nor there. I'm just, often there's more good in a building, and it's awfully costly to build from scratch. But I'm comments. I believe I will support this.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Deb?
No comments.
Susan?
No comment.
Sam?
No comments.
Duncan?
Well, just I kind of want to repeat what Chris said, and it's a small house on a really tight lot, so you're not going to get a lot bigger house built there. Also, looking at the context and the original siding, which seems to be on the porch, I think this is probably a much older house than the surrounding houses. It's got a Greek Revival pedimented porch, and I would say it's actually pretty early. Central hall, modest, clearly. But yeah, I mean, it seems to be sound. I don't, I hate to see them torn down if they're usable.
All right, thank you, Duncan. Lee, do you have any comments?
I agree with Duncan. It's a sweet little building. I hate to see it go, but I would support this.
Thank you, Lee. And I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners about this property. It would be nice to see it saved, but we could let it go as well. So I will need a motion.
I'll move to approve demo delay 2025 for address 1205 North Madison Street.
I'll second it.
D.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton, Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-0.
Final comment could be, you could build on the back and really dress that front porch up, and it might pay you to take that approach, but good luck. Glad you're interested in that house. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this evening, Mr. Evans. Okay, demo delay 2026, 1005 West First Street.
So this is another full demolition on this block of West First. We've already, HPC has approved the demolition of this house, and this house. So demo delay 2026 is this house, 1005 West First. Same group, Indiana Center for Recovery is requesting demolition. Staff doesn't find that really it's any different than the other three that have been released recently by the HPC, and would recommend release of the demo delay 2026. Chris, questions?
All right, Chris, questions?
Yeah, could we be reminded what the zoning is in this area that we're giving away all these single family homes?
I believe it's mixed medical.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, Deb, questions?
Well, just in terms of the zoning, is mixed medical going to continue in the new UDO, or is that already existing mixed medical with the old hospital there?
Is Keegan with us?
Supposed to be. Our planner isn't with us to answer that question, and I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, thanks.
The latter.
Okay, thank you. Lee, questions?
No.
Susan, do you have any questions?
No.
Sam,
No questions.
Duncan?
This is demo delay, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's current zoning. Deb, it's almost certainly going to change.
Yeah, it's going to change with a new description, new planning of that whole hospital site is huge planning, and mixed medical didn't seem to be part of it for the meetings I went to.
No, it's not.
No, the petitioner, are they not operating a business already in this neighborhood?
They are.
And so this is part of keep it. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, the petitioner is already operating a business in this neighborhood, and I think that the removal is to be able to expand things. Matt, are you with us tonight? Matt Ryan?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Matt, could you talk more about this for us?
I'm not exactly sure what the end goal is here for the owner of the company. I know that they've been talking about expanding it. That's why we own multiple properties on the north and the south side of First Street right through there. So, I mean, they've been looking at, expanding our facility, adding more things to our facility. A lot of these houses right through there, I mean, they're not sound. That's what happened with the last one you guys approved. We looked at fixing it up, but it was going to be, a substantial amount of money to repair the foundation and the roof for that. And these next couple, they're the not this one, but the next one, the next, what is it, 1007. That one has been renovated recently. The inside has had a facelift and it's got a new roof on it. But if you crawl underneath of it, it's had multiple repairs as far as the foundation stuff. We're running into where they've just been gone. They've gone for so long that it's going to cost a whole lot to fix them up. So I mean, that's why the CEO of the company I work for is moving to just demolish them. That way they can work at expanding our facility and possibly building back there at some point.
All right, thank you very much for that information, Matt. So let's go back to we'll get to all the comments, questions. I don't think we get through them. Sam, do you have any more questions?
No.
So let's move on to comments. And Chris, your comments?
Now this is in the department of choose our battles. And this has been cut off from the herd. And the use has made some of these less desirable to live in anyway. So I'm sorry to let them go, but I'm glad we get to look at them one more time before we say goodbye to them.
Thank you, Chris. Deb, comments?
No comments, thanks.
Lee, any comments?
I love that there's an accessibility ramp on that little pale gray house. I'm sure somebody lives there, and they seem to be well cared for, and we do need to pick our battles.
All right, thank you very much, Lee. Susan?
No comments.
All right. Sam?
No comments.
Duncan?
Nope.
I don't have any more comments on this either. So I need a COA to approve.
Release them.
Release
You
them.
gotta read the sheet.
Oh,
Unless someone else has it.
Okay, so I'll Make a motion to release demo delay 2026 at address 1005 West First Street.
I didn't do it the last one. All right, today regarding the property located at 1005 West First Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of proposed demolition, and after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of demolition delay waiting period. The HPC may later recommend the property for his historic designation to the county council. Okay. B,
Okay, Sam DeZoller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
no, we did.
Deb Hutton,
Yes?
Sandwise,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes,
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 600.
we have I need to make a point of order on our last demo delay. We did not do the resolutions.
Exactly.
So we're gonna go back and do that one now, and then we'll move on to the other. So today regarding the property located at 1205 North Madison, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of proposed demolition or partial demolition, and after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further, and waives the rest of demolition delay waiting period. The HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to the county council. And so Dee, would you do the roll
We
call?
need a second.
And a
Second, Deb Hutton.
Thanks, Deb.
Okay, this is for which property?
This is for 1205 North Madison, COA 20-25.
Okay,
Demo delay 2025.
Thank you.
okay. Sam DeZoller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 600.
All right. We're going to move on to demo delay 20-27, 1000 West First Street, for full demolition. So do we have questions, Chris?
Anybody?
Good point. Do we have any questions?
Are we are we on a new subject?
Yes.
We are. We're on the house next door.
This is
Oh, okay. I see.
Yep.
New address, 1007 West First, new item, demo delay 2027.
Okay, no questions.
Any comments?
Yeah, comments. Yeah, the city is short of homes and housing and houses. And this is starting to remind me of when the university tore down hundreds of houses and never built anything back on near the stadium. I'm hoping these aren't going to waste. I know what materials cost these days. I know what it costs to put a house together. And if these are just so they don't have to maintain them, I hope there's a good use for this property in the future and that we're not just throwing away much needed housing in the city.
Thank you, Chris. Any more comments?
I agree with Chris.
Thank you, Lee. Okay. Today, regarding the property located at 1007 West First Street, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of proposed demolition or parcel, and after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further, and waives the rest of the demolition delay waiting period. The HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to county council. We need a second.
Second, Deb Hutton.
Thank you, Deb. And Dee?
Sam DeZoller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes?
Lee Sandwise,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
I will symbolically pass.
Motion carries 5-1-0.
Great. All right, thank you, everybody, for getting through this first part of our meeting. So we're gonna move on to new business. And we have a courtesy review of the Johnson Creamery stack.
So I know we looked at the structural engineering report for this object several months ago and had an informal discussion about possibilities for it. Today we have a group. I believe we have the property owners and some members of Ratio Architects with us to give more of an explanation, overview of the smokestack, the issues and thoughts that they have for its future. So I've shared, I've made Dustin, I believe you're in here, I've made you a co-host. Feel free to hijack and share a screen.
All right. Thank you.
Might be muted.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing real quick and it got a little bit out of control. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, again, this is Dustin with Ratio Architects here. And with me, I have Ryan Cohen and Michael Cordero from Peerless, who are the owners. So Ryan and Michael, do you want to kind of kick it off for us a little bit?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Cordero. I'm the owner of Peerless Development, who's the manager and owner of the entity who that owns the Johnson's Creamery building. We purchased this building last year and the parking lot adjacent to the north. Our plans for the building are to basically keep operating it as an office building, and then we had submitted plans and got approvals for a multi-unit mixed-use development to the north. So we are planning on constructing 60 units and 2,500 square feet of retail along the B line. You know, as we've owned this property, you know, the smokestack has deteriorated even, you know, in the short time since we've owned it. Further deterioration seems to keep happening. And so, you know, we do have a lease with AT&T, as you can see, with the cellular equipment. You know, the most recent report that we got was basically that it's leaning so badly that they recommend a good portion of the top to be removed. Our feeling right now is that, one, even doing the removal of that top section is really economically unviable for us, even having some commercial, you know, rent coming from the cellular equipment. That, you know, paying to remove that top of the smokestack is such a large number that it's really economically unviable, and that does not, you know, even begin to consider the ongoing maintenance that this is going to require. So we've been working, you know, very closely with Ratio and trying to talk with a few members of the city, and really would like to propose to this group and then to the city a replacement with different materiality, as, you know, sort of an homage to the smokestack and the skyline, but ultimately removing this chimney stack, which we feel is beyond its useful life and really just becoming more of a public safety hazard and risk than it needs to be.
So to provide a bit of context here, this is the proposal that Michael just spoke of that we received approval for this past summer. So the B line, to orient you here, is along this side, and then the showers building would be kind of to your left as you turn. The existing Johnson Creamery building is in this area right here. New development is in this area. It's a 5-story building with 60 residential units and a 2,500 square feet of retail fronting the B line. So we looked at some different ways that we could start to look at that as kind of a replacement for this. And I think that one thing that we were starting to alight on was how do we what does that what does the tower mean right there? Obviously there's the kind of the useful component of it, or the functional component of it today is as the cell tower portion of that. But you also kind of look at smokestacks historically. It was kind of a 19th or early 20th century power generation system, and so we started like, well, what's the 21st century response to that? And so we started to look at can you start to coat these things, or put up a new tower with solar panels so it becomes a renewable source of energy as opposed to kind of the burning of coal. And then you start to look at a steel structure, how you can modify that to make it more of an art piece, an icon in the area. So just a few quick studies looking at that, at these options right here. One that is more about the solar panels along there, kind of orienting that to the south, and you can start to complement this with some with some lighting and different type of structure. Looked at do we come back and build back the base of the tower with the brick, so you can still get that that tactility at the ground level, as you kind of walking up to it, and kind of some activation around that area, showing it from a different perspective. Another kind of interpretation, or something a bit more square, something that starts to reflect the panelization of the stone, but in a different material of the base of the building, and bringing that up, and you have some again some skeletal nature of it that you can light up or create some interest in that area of the tower and the structure. And then finally, an option that's is more referential to the monitors that you find on this building, but also on the showers building, the sawtooth nature, kind of exaggerating that, and utilizing the panelization of it. These aren't really to show any specific kind of we think that these are the solution right here, but it's really how can we start to think about the tower differently, and how make it more an homage, but also kind of bring it up to the 21st century and incorporate solar panels, and get something new and exciting to that location. And I think now is, we thank you for your audience, is just to kind of get some, some feedback and thoughts on, what kind of paths forward would we have, for this particular issue that Michael brought up.
Thank you. So we'll move on to questions. So Chris, do you have questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. Connor, was there a courtesy review on this project right adjacent to a locally designated historic structure?
So the Johnston Creamery is not locally designated. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, but it's not locally designated.
Oh, National Register. Okay. Okay, so I'd have to be convinced that that chimney couldn't be repaired. If it's expensive to repair, that's one thing, just like the coping is going to be more expensive on the other building. But I find it hard to believe that it's not possible to repair it. I guess that's my question. Is it impossible to repair?
I think probably the main thing that becomes the most difficult nature of it is just the leaning of it right now. And that you can repair it, but it will never be fully repaired. And that it will be a constant maintenance for the structure.
Thank you.
Okay, Lee?
No questions.
All right. Deb?
Not right now. I think I'll reserve questions for later. Thanks.
Okay. Susan?
No.
Duncan? Is Duncan with us?
Here I am.
Sure.
Yeah, I also, obviously I was very involved with the original restoration of this building and the tower and the smokestack and so on. And so I also question I'd like more clarity on the decision that, well, we're going to have to maintain it, so let's get rid of it and build something else, which we're also going to have to maintain. And you're going to have to maintain the building as well. It doesn't resonate with me without seeing the numbers. And I'd like to see the structural report, because I really think this, I'll just be honest with you. I think building another building in the parking lot of the Johnston Creamery is a damn shame. And just screams unfair to this historic building, which has been such an important part of this community. And now to optimize the tower as some symbol of panelization just adds insult to injury. So to convince me, I'd have to see the structural report and the real numbers that we're talking about, and not the numbers that are just too big.
So Duncan, we actually, that was in a packet, I believe in June, and we had that discussion over the structural engineer's report. But if you don't have that, I can certainly send that to you again tomorrow, because we do have that report.
Okay.
I'd like to get that too. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, I'll send that out tomorrow.
Great, thank you, Duncan. Sam?
Yeah, I'm the thing that resonates for me with the stack is that it was of very practical use, and none of the schemes that have been put forth with any kind of tower element have any, as far as I can tell, practical use. So that does not make me comfortable. That's all I got to say on that one.
Thank you, Sam.
I guess if I can chime in there, the practical use is that we would be taking this and we're going to look to put solar panels on this new tower. So it would be an energy generating, structure. The other practical use is that it does house telecommunications equipment that ultimately services some of the public services of the community. The hospital, I believe the police or the sheriff's department, they all have dedicated cellular service coming from this smokestack and the equipment that's on there. That's the reason why we would say we want to rebuild anything. One is the homage on the skyline and sort of putting something back that is beautiful and interesting and will last hopefully the next 100 years. The other being that it does have a practical use. It's and to give you some ideas of the numbers for repairing, we're looking at $250,000, and that's just to take off the top 15 or 20 feet and replace them. And that has, again, zero impact, I guess, on future maintenance requirements, which these bricks can seem to be spalding and falling off in chunks on a monthly basis. Our property manager has had to place a large section of chain and rope to keep people away so it doesn't become a serious threat of injury.
Okay. My comment is, are we still in questions? I'm sorry, I think everybody asked their questions by now. Do we have any more questions?
Yes, may I ask one now?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, John. Michael, when you talk about the top 10 or 20 feet needing to be replaced, if this current existing tower would be viable at all, and I've also heard you say that, and Dustin say that it leans, does just the top 20 feet lean, or does the entire stack lean?
I believe that is the most significant lean, where they said if that, I think it's the top 15 feet. If the top 15 feet were removed, that would remove the bulk of the lean.
So there's a likelihood, or there's an anticipation that the top 20 feet or so would fall off in a sort of a big crash because there's some kind of weakness at the point of 15 feet or so, extra weakness, shall we say, rather than Leaning Tower of Pisa, which the whole thing is sort of keeping, I can't say vertical, but straight and yet leaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
All right, let's move on to comments. Chris?
Yeah, nothing is going to speak to the history of that area like this smokestack does. And you have the Showers factory that has echoes of that era. And that building is, and that's another iconic piece of that building and that district. It can be repaired. It's annoying to keep repairing it. We're hearing the same thing about some of the brick having a little trouble on the Showers building, but no one's thinking of tearing that down. I'd have to be really convinced that it can't be fixed to approve getting rid of it. I think it's an important part of our past. And it gives some enhancement to the new structures that are being built around it. It's at least it calls attention to the authentic history of that district, and will lend some credibility perhaps to the work that's echoing some of that appearance in traditional bottom couple floors of brick. So I think it's actually a positive for that development, even though it's going to be an annoying cost to maintain, but they should have known the job was dangerous when they took it.
Thank you, Chris. Deb, do you have any comments?
None at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lee, do you have some comments?
Just that it's a comment and a question. My question is, I guess because I'm a newcomer, I only have been here for 18 years. I'm not sure why the treasure, the Johnson Creamery, wasn't locally designated, even though it's on the National Historic District. And, you know, my comment is, to me, this is just unthinkable.
Thank you, Lee. Susan?
I agree with Chris. Yeah, I'm not really sure I like this solution.
Thank you. Sam?
I'm uncomfortable with the homage concept. I appreciate that it is a danger, and I think comes to it, it's either repair it or tear it down. But I don't think a third option is appealing.
Thank you, Sam. Duncan?
Just for Lee's benefit, the building was put on the National Register in part to qualify it for historic tax credit program in order to restore it. And that was done to facilitate that. And then subsequent to that, the West Side National Register District was formed. So it's actually individually listed, and I think it's an outstanding or notable building rated in the district. So it has a kind of a double recognition, but at that point, there didn't seem to be any point to look necessarily to locally designate it. And that smokestack is the second one, and several feet of the top have already been taken off. It was much taller than that originally. And I have sympathy for the public danger issue, but I would like to see the same effort put into figuring out how to stabilize it that has been put into how to tear it down and redesign it.
Thank you, Duncan. I'm going to agree with my fellow commissioners. This is kind of, it's an iconic in this town. People see this, and I feel that if we were to allow it to be torn down in the future, that we would lose that part of Bloomington that I would not like to see lost. And I would support us having it rebuilt.
Unless they have any more
comments. Yes.
From the group. They have anything else.
Right. So Dustin and Mike, do you have any more comments? Questions?
Structurally, can I ask you a question?
Certainly, Deb. This is a cursory, so we can flesh this out as much as we want.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, this may be entirely naive on my part, but if I thought of something smaller than this stack, you know, like 6 feet tall in my backyard, but a hollow tubal structure, I would want to stick a steel beam vertically down it so it was down into the earth and holding the structure up vertically so no way could it fall over, and then just fixing the bricks around it. But it's such a tall and huge structure, can sort of an internal pole, since it's not used as a smokestack anymore, can an internal kind of vertical strengthening happen?
Yeah, I believe that there's been a lot of different study on how you start to do that. And sorry, Michael, were you going?
No, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay. And kind of to that was, do you start to go back and look at the reinforcing rings, or that was a floated thought, was to, instead of a steel, to kind of almost pour it solid, if you will, with concrete. But then it's the foundation that starts to become the issue at that point in time, and how much you're able to kind of work through that. That becomes the kind of the complicating factor when we look at that.
Thank you very much, Dustin. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Any more comments?
I have one more.
Chris?
We're often in the interesting role of putting a value on history and putting a value on traditional structures in the city, traditional buildings. And often we're flying in the face of what's the most practical thing to do. But it's hard to put a value on some of these intangible issues, like, do we love it when we see it up there? Do we like that we've always seen it up there? Do we like what it means about our past? And how do we value that? And how do we put dollar signs on that? So that's what's fascinating about this whole commission, because we're not just doing the dollars, we're standing up for ideas and thoughts, and it's important. And so it isn't about, if it can be fixed, I would even suggest we have to locally designate it if that's what we need to do to stop it from being torn down.
Thank you, Chris. Any more comments?
Dustin or Michael, do you guys have any other questions or closing comments before we move on?
I guess my question is, are there local funds available to help preserve this? Because this is a very expensive endeavor with very little, I understand maintaining a building that, is bringing in revenue, but also maintaining a 2-story brick building is much, much easier because there's hundreds of mason contractors that can do that work. Getting people 120 feet up in the air to do this work, we found one contractor. We are beholden to their price, and it is very, very expensive for everything that we've already done, and for what they're proposing. This is an economically devastating object. Federally, there's no money available because they don't consider it a building. It's an object. So, I guess I ask, locally, are there funds available to help keep this as part of the skyline?
Well, there aren't any local funds, or at least funds offered by the HPC or the city that I know of for the preservation, rehabilitation of the structure. But we are a certified local government under the National Park Service program, and I know we have access to a Historic Preservation Fund, which is highly underutilized in the state of Indiana. They're begging people to apply for it. So this is something that we could work together, next year to apply for some funding out of that to help offset the costs. Although when you're talking about $250,000 or $500,000, that Historic Preservation Fund really would be small fries compared to the overall cost of that rehab. And I was going to ask Duncan, since he was part of the tax credit project for this building in the past, that 20% federal tax credit, was that used with the smokestack, Duncan? Was the smokestack covered in that whole Johnson Creamery rehab?
Yeah, it was. I was surprised to hear that they thought it was being treated as an individual object, because when we did it, we put some additional rings on it and did a significant tuck pointing and lining to the tower at the time, and that was included in our tax credit expenses, and it was reimbursed at the 20% rate. So it already has a history of a tax credit. It's eligible for another one. It's on the National Register. I would definitely apply for that. For that whole building, we leveraged all kinds of different monies to make that project work. So it wasn't just a single source, but that was a very major part of covering our cost. But I think based on that previous application and successful project, that they'd have a hard time denying that now it's part of the building. I would question them very pointedly on that issue. Like it was a building back in 1994, but now it's not. So that I question that. Also, there's a pretty generous state fund through Okra, which you should look at. They have a historic preservation grant. And it's competitive, but they have a program as well for historic buildings.
And the BUEA could possibly be tapped for a small amount, $10,000, $20,000 that might help add to everything else.
Yeah, there are certainly funding streams available, albeit small. So you'd have to tap all of them to make any kind of meaningful impact on the overall cost of the project. But if you did make an effort to do that, and we would certainly be willing to help with that because we need to put our money where our mouth is, or our time where our mouth is, and also I think help if we care enough about this smokestack to tell you no, you can't demolish it. I think at least for myself and hopefully for the commissioners as well, that they'd be willing to spend time to help bring all that together and make that a reality. So I think that's the answer for you there, Michael.
I have one more question for Dustin and Michael. What's it going to cost to tear that structure down?
That we have not received a quote for.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to
Thank you.
Near West Side design guidelines. Sam? Have you reviewed them again, Sam?
Yeah, so Connor and I, well, Connor's been in this longer than I have, but we had a pair of meetings to review these. I went through and nitpicked it a good bit, and I think it's a much cleaner document. It's got no current references to the existing zoning code. There's a clarity to it that I appreciate. It is a fairly restrictive set of guidelines, but that's what the neighborhood wants. So that's what they're going to get. So I've withdrew any issues that I had previously, and I'd sign up for supporting this one.
Thank you, Sam. Do we have any comments from the rest of our commissioners on this topic? Dee?
Well, I want to thank Sam and Connor for working on the Near West Side design guidelines.
And Deb.
And Deb more than me.
And Deb. Yeah, you guys are you rock. Is this old business or commissioner comments?
Would you need a vote?
Are we all making comments on Near West Side?
We are.
What's interesting about the collision with the zoning is that the Near West Side and we will be making decisions on compatibility. That is clear and beyond a doubt that is within our realm to do. So I just wanted to get that on the record because that's a matter of ordinance.
Thank you, Chris. Hey, Deb, you got some comments?
Oh, just to compliment Connor for shepherding them through the neighbors in this guidelines committee through, and then for Sam for seeing so clearly that there needed to be some edits regarding the zoning, and really was wonderful guiding the members of the guideline committee through those funny little quirks to get the zoning out and their wishes in to the guidelines. So just compliments to both Sam and Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb. Okay, Susan.
No, I don't have anything to add.
All right. Duncan, do you have anything to add?
Duncan,
You're muted, Duncan.
Okay, sorry. Here I am. I saw that Karen Duffy was among us. I wonder if she had anything to say about how she pretty much was the leader of this whole project all the way through to the designation. I'm curious about her opinion of the guidelines.
Karen?
Oh, hi. Thanks. I'm just here because I was curious about your opinion of the guidelines. I'm really happy with them. And I certainly shared any leadership. I was not prominent by myself. A number of people really worked very hard on them for a long time. And we struggled with the zoning thing while we were writing them. Our intention was, frankly, as Chris pointed out, to protect ourselves, knowing the wishes of the city to change the zoning. But since that's happening sooner than we expected, we appreciate the guidance to take that out and emphasize the compatibility. So we're really happy with it. And Sam's comments were specific. Really appreciate him digging down deeply into it, and Deb working with us the whole, whatever it was, 8 months or so to put them together, Connor and Deb. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy.
Thank you very much for your participation. I also want to thank our commissioners again, Sam and Deb and Connor, for bringing this to a closure. So we need a motion.
could I have one more comment?
Certainly, Chris.
You know, the R4 allows 2 lots to be put together or 3 lots to be put together and an apartment of as many as 8 units to be built. Those would come to us as a C of A, and we would have to rule on the compatibility of those structures. Or somebody could build a 4-plex on two lots. And so there are going to be collisions, and it is going to come through our commission. And that's just a heads up and how it works.
All right. Thank you again, Chris. So we need a motion to approve the new guidelines.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. D?
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Susan Dyer,
Yes.
Deb Hutton,
Yes.
Lee Sandweiss,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Chris Sturbaum.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0-0.
Congratulations, all of you.
And I'll get those up on the city website tomorrow.
Terrific. Thank you, Connor. We don't have any old business, but we do have commissioner comments, and I believe Lee would like to talk to us.
I'll keep it really brief. I'm going to be leaving the commission effective this meeting. I know we're going to meet on December 12th, but I am going to be out of town. The reason I'm leaving the commission is Eric and I are going to Ireland on January 4th, and we'll be gone for 6 months. And it's kind of scary in these times, but he did receive a Fulbright in February of this year. And we didn't know until about 3 weeks ago that we were still gonna, that he was still invited to go to, what is it? It's a National University of Ireland, Galway. So we're gonna be in Galway. It's all very whatever, but I'm gonna miss being with you guys, and you do such great work, and I've learned so much. And if you have a vacancy when I get back on July 1 and you want me back, I'd be happy to come back.
Oh, we take you back. We would definitely take you back.
Well,
We'll miss you.
yeah, I'm gonna miss you too.
It's really exciting, Lee. That should be fun.
It's fun. It's it's a dicey time. It's a dicey
It is
time.
fun and scary.
Huh?
Fun and scary, yes.
Fun and scary. It's fun and scary, and we've got a little dog, and we don't know what to do with him. Anyway, it's a thing, and I know, literally, we just found out 3 weeks ago that this was a go. So I was in Dublin last February when Ireland had one COVID case, and Eric texted me and he said, I got the Fulbright. And I'm like, oh, that's fabulous. And then I came back home and then all this happened. And so I just tried to put it out of my mind. But thank you guys for being who you are. And it's been an honor to work with you.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yes.
And we will want you back if you possibly can.
Well, if there's a spot for me, I would be happy to come back.
We're going to miss you a lot, Lee. And
I miss you too.
Thank you so much. And you've been on our commission for several years now.
Yeah, this is my second term, but I don't know, I'm like not done with my term, and I had no intention of ever leaving, but I don't think there's a way. I mean, with Zoom, I guess there's technically a way you can always come to the meetings, right? But I don't know if you can be out of the country and actually be on this commission. So that might be something to look into.
You can definitely be on Zoom from out of the country.
Right.
You have millions of these Zoom conferences and panels and presenters from all over the world. But
yeah, Lee, I don't think there's an issue with you being out of the country. But I also just don't know when we're going to go back to in-person meetings as well. Maybe that'll be after, it won't be till next summer. Maybe it won't be till next winter. Maybe it'll be in February. That's a big unknowable as well. So
yeah.
But at the rate that we have open positions filled on this commission, I have a feeling it'll still be open when you get back.
Well, I guess the question I have, Connor, is if you could check with the city or the powers that be, if somebody could actually be on the commission and be a resident of Bloomington, because we're definitely going to be hiring people to take care of our house and everything. We're Bloomington residents and we're going to come back. I mean, if you can technically not reside in Bloomington temporarily and be on the commission, I'd be happy to do it. But I do know that in the past, there have been some issues with people being not residents.
Well, I can certainly look into that.
Great. Well, let me know,
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, in addition, the COVID is getting so bad, I can't foresee it at least until February, maybe March, maybe even with the vaccine. They say that the majority of people, of citizens, won't be getting the first vaccine, let alone the second, until May, June, July, summer. So it's very possible that we'll continue in this manner well into the winter or spring or even the summer.
I believe that's true.
Yes.
I mean, Ireland's in lockdown right now. I mean, we're going to go from here to someplace quarantine for 14 days. Nothing's open. They've got another 3 weeks of lockdown. I'm kind of stunned that Eric has 90 students signed up for his American history course over there, but hey, why not? Let's go.
Teach with Zoom, probably.
Yeah, I think they're doing a hybrid thing like IU is, but he's just teaching his classes at IU on Zoom. He's not going in person, although it's all very surreal. I can't say no to Ireland. But,
good luck.
let me know what you find out.
Sure.
there's a way I can tag on, I'd be happy to.
Great, that'd be fantastic. Again, thank you, Lee. Do we have any public comments?
Could I ask Connor a question?
No.
Shoot.
What's the prospect of filling our empty seat, Connor?
It's in the works right now. Still waiting on confirmation from Mayor Hamilton.
Good to hear, I hope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
I'll make a comment to Connor too in that respect. I think that my term ends December 31st, I think. Could you check on that, please?
So that was something that I was going to do before the next meeting, is let everybody know whose terms are expired, that it's happening, and that you need to reapply if you're interested. I'll be sending you an email before the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Connor.
And definitely go ahead and reapply anyway. Just to get a heads up. All right, thank you guys. I think we're adjourned this evening.